MackinVIA review of resources because one of the weird parts of the catch-allness of my position is database contracts. So I regularly see the statistics on things like that, or subscription databases, and I see the numbers on that and how low they are. And I also sit on a committee for Ebooks Minnesota, so I figured I'd just pair all this stuff together and just do a general review of electronic resources in the SELCO region. Because, like Cheryl said before, we don't always know what you don't know, and there's a lot of stuff that's just handed down from one person to another, and there's never really a formal review of it in the SELCO region. So I'm going to go with this semi-formal review in this meeting for electronic resources which are available to you either through SELCO or through the state. So, the first thing we have are the scholastic databases. Now, these ones you'll find either on our website, on the... One second. Got Windows here. Up here to the research databases will take you to this page, which lists the databases provided by SELCO down here. So we have the Scholastic Go databases. Or if you go to an enterprise profile, I believe all of them, maybe one or two don't, have this research section over here, which lists our scholastic databases as well. It's the ones with the black bars. Both of them work the same and will take you to the databases. Now, when it comes to using these databases, one other thing with access is that while the patron is in your library, they should be able to get into the database without requiring a login. It's an IP authentication. If they're coming in from your library, they automatically get in the database. You're good there. If that is not happening, let the help desk know and we will adjust our parameters in the database for your IP addresses to make sure that your borrowers can get in while they're in the building. For remote access, it requires a library card in good standing. Generally, when I'm going to be talking about in good standing today, it means less than $10 in fines, no lost, and not expired. There might be some provisos on that depending on the service, but that's the general rule for in good standing. Now, Scholastic itself, we have 5 databases which we license from them. Those 5 right there: The Amazing Animals, America the Beautiful, Lands and People, The New Book of Popular Science, and I don't speak Spanish, but the Spanish language one. So these ones are there. It's a little bit of description right there for them. It's mostly school-age stuff, so elementary to high school, depending on which database you're looking in. And it's laid out really well. Let me bring up the Scholastic interface. Now, when you come in here, I don't remember if it's going to remember. No, it did not remember from yesterday. You can either go to the legacy version, which allows you to break it apart into the different databases, or you can go to the Scholastic Go version, which takes you to a more general interface. Now let's say I want to look up something simple. And here are the search results that I get. I get a number of images, articles, additional info on kind of like site-related stuff, and then some websites down here. So it's a good amalgamation of resources, a good variety of them in here. And I totally didn't even notice when I was looking at this, they have a Lexile level on these articles. That's kind of cool. And you see they have it broken apart by grade level too, so you can further break it down depending on who's looking for these resources. Okay, the other one, which is kind of related to this, because it's also directly provided by SELCO, are the Gale databases. So again, these are found in the same places and require the same things for the access. When it comes to these, we have 2 that we license from Gale, which are Chilton's and Biography in Context. Chilton's, as I'm sure you all know or knew at some point, are those books that you have in your library for the automotive repair and maintenance things. So we do have electronic access to that. That one is surprisingly the most consistent in terms of access year-round. I see about the same number of hits every month. The other ones, I can definitely tell that schools use them more because in the summer they get no hits. But Chilton's is there, so that's available. I know back when Ann Hokinson was in Austin, she really liked that when she found out about that, she's like, oh, I can clear off those shelves. Because she was using up a lot of space for her Chilton's. And then Biography in Context, that's a good one. That's our one that we do for our systems check every day. And it's kind of because I like it. So you see in here we have all these things. things. Let me actually search Obama, Barack, just because that's the first name that popped in my head when it came to biographies. So you'll see this one is another amalgamation of things. I like it because you have the actual biographies up here first, listed by, you know, book and all that, and where you can find it. Then you have news articles down here, audio clips from NPR, magazine articles on him. It's a really good resource for biographical. Oh, and then there's the actual academic journals down here. And videos, yay! So you have a bunch of resources available on the people, and it's over 500,000 people that have biographical references on in here at this point. Close my tab so I don't forget what I'm doing. Okay, the SELCO newspaper index. This is one some of you might know about, some of you might not. If you ever look in your Horizon login, you might have the ability to log into a different database called ComRes, Community Resources. So this is something that's been around forever, and honestly I think it's forgotten about a lot. So it's also listed on Enterprise and on our research page. Try to get to this one. This one doesn't require any authentication to get in, it's just right here. And those of you who've been around forever know this interface. This is him. So we do still have something running off this old interface. So this is a newspaper index. So we have about, I think, 4 libraries which will go in and index their newspapers they receive at their library with names, for the most part, on sometimes keywords from the article, to go in and be able to find it. I mean, not everything is digitized, and I'll get to that in a second too, about digitized resources. But this one, you'll find, you can search in name, you'll generally find obits or photos in this one. But you'll see there's some other ones in here. Ooh, actually, I know I'm in here a couple times. So let's see, we have my Eagle Scout project, my graduation, I don't know, probably a high grade or something for that one. Because this one is just pretty basic when you look into it. It is just an index. There isn't much information more than where you need to go. So we'll see on here we have the publisher. This is the Austin Daily Herald, the date, the title of the article, and then the people who are listed in it. So we still have this old interface, and it's not always 100% right, because I was looking at this one, and I know that's actually DeVerksten Brandon, not DeVerksten Heimbach Christopher. But it is what it is. It is there for your access to all these newspapers in the area. Elm for You. Now I could do an entire session on Elm, it's that big. But Elm is the Electronic Library of Minnesota, and Elm for You is, actually I'm not even 100% sure I did that right, it might just be the letter U for how they do this one. But these are the databases which are licensed by the state of Minnesota for anyone in the state to use. And again, it is on our research page and the enterprise profiles, although it's on the left on this one instead of on the right. And they use a geolocated IP authentication. So that means basically if your internet service provider is in the state of Minnesota, and that's how you're connecting to it, you should be able to access it without having to log in. If you have an ISP who's out of state, or if you're in the border areas, like some of us are, you might need to log in with a library card to get into these resources. And I will say, you never know what's going to happen, because I think our IP is somewhere west of the cities here at SELCO, and it always screws everything up when I go to Google Maps. But this one has 66 different resources listed, and most of them are databases. There are a few other things in there like MinLink and Ebooks Minnesota, and right there are 4 of the big ones that I saw when I was going through the list of them. So EBSCO, Metafile, Britannica, Learning Express, and the St. Paul Pioneer Press. So go in here, Electronic Library of Minnesota. I love their interface because it's so pretty in terms of color. So you can search by topics, content type, database name if you know them, or actual publications if you want to type something in, so like Newsweek. Will tell us that we have full text access through this one for these various editions, so it'll get us in there. And here's the databases which we have and the dates available. So it's an expanded academic ASAP, so we can get in there to search our databases. And you can even go directly to the article and read through it if you want to. Or I mean the issue, and see what articles are in there. Unfortunately, it opens a lot of tabs when you go through it.
Tyler, what I really like about this is the ability, the citation choices that you can do off on the right-hand side. You click Cite, and we require our students to use the MLA format, and just does all the work for them.
Yes, that is a great thing about these resources. Once have the built-in citation abilities to them. No, I'm not going to go off on that tangent. But it's there and it's wonderful. Now, the Minnesota Digital Newspapers. This is something that's actually provided by the Minnesota Historical Society, not us or the state directly, but we have it listed on our research databases and the enterprise profiles. It's all on the left again for this one. And that's because this one, we've done a lot for them for this one. So in terms of what it is, it's digitization of newspapers, generally from their inception until 1922, which is the magical Disney copyright cutoff. So it goes up to that point generally. There are a few things which they have been able to get agreements on to go farther into, to go actually into the copyright era and have resources on it. And I know they have another project they're working on to get direct access to things that are born digitally for the news organizations in Minnesota. But generally it's these older things, and it's from around the state. Why I'm pointing this out is that for the last 10 years we have been giving money, well, not directly giving money, but we've been working with the Minnesota Historical Society to digitize newspapers in the region. At this point we have newspapers digitized from every one of the counties, several of them, in fact, and I think, yes, there is a map search that I saw yesterday. You can see here's the map of the newspapers which they have digitized over the years, and you'll see down in our region there are a lot of dots. We have digitized a lot of things over the years through them, and so you see we have the, no, stay selected, the Dodge Center Press from Dodge Center, Minnesota. We have over here a lot of Rochester stuff, so let's skip that one. We have the Wabasha County Herald and its various names throughout the years. Some from throughout the region. See, we have very good coverage around here. Us and Nelsa have a lot. But otherwise, it's just pretty much hit or miss, because that's the Minnesota Historical Society doing it as they find resources which are useful. This is us saying, we deem these resources useful, so put them in there with yours, that way everyone can find them. This one doesn't have any restrictions on locating it, although if you want to find more of the in-copyright stuff additional to this, you have to go into their actual physical building and they have access that way. Overdrive. I'd be remiss if I didn't go through our ebook offerings as well. They get more coverage in general, so just go over them briefly. You'll know that we have a link for them on our website. There is the website itself, selco.overdrive.com. It's in the App Store. Now when it comes to the App Store, there are two different apps right now for Overdrive. It's the Overdrive Media Console, or whatever they're calling it. I just call it Overdrive on my iPad. And Libby. Overdrive is the classic one, which has been around forever and has caused us all numerous nightmares on how to get people signed in. And Libby is their next generation one, which still causes a few nightmares, but not as many as the old one. When it comes to these, as far as I know, they're going to continue parallel development for a while, but the feeling that I get is that eventually the Overdrive Media Console is going to be deprecated and everything else to Libby. I know that I switched over to Libby myself on my phone, and it's much easier to use, it's much more instinctive. Yes. Again, and the enterprise profiles. In this case, I don't mean the link itself, although some of you have added the link on there. We do have the resources directly ported into the search results for Overdrive. So you can directly check something out from Enterprise, or go back to Overdrive from there. And again, this requires a card in good standing. Content, generally mass-produced popular works. We have a few things which aren't quite popular works, but that's because of brand stuff or just filling in the classics in the material. One thing I do want to talk about, which isn't necessarily related to this, but something I want to put out there, and this is not happening anytime soon, but I want people to be thinking about it over the next few months, possibly year, maybe years, is that Overdrive has been working on something which allows patrons to self-register and get access to electronic materials for a certain period of time. And then that data is sent to the libraries to import into their ILS. Just putting that out there, no need for comment or anything yet, just want you to make aware of it. So the other side of ebooks is MackinVIA. So this is our collection for the schools. Again, it's located on our website. Although it doesn't have a quick link, it does have its own page on the website. And this is also now ported into our enterprise profiles the same way. There is a slight catch at the moment that you need to log in with your library account to get to the Mackin stuff, although you might not need to log into your library account to access the Mackin stuff at the Mackin level. And then you can also access it to the local Mackin portals. Now when it comes to that bug, Cersei Dynamics is aware of it and they're working on it. Content for this one is K through 12 ebooks selected by Mackin's collection development librarians. They're very good at what they do. I trust them. It is largely parsed out based on our school libraries who are participating in this collection. So the more people we have who are offering it to their 8th graders, the more 8th grade material we have to it. SELCO contributes a little bit, which is where we go into the gaps to make sure that we do have stuff for the grades which aren't currently used, so we can try to get other people to sign up for it. And the cool thing about this one is when it comes to MackinVIA materials, when you go to your local portal at the school to look at your Mackin stuff, you'll see the SELCO material, your local material that you've purchased for your school or for your district. All three of those types of things are just seamlessly integrated. Students have no idea where it comes from, so you don't even need to worry about it. Just if it's available, it's available. You don't need to know who's providing it. Okay, now Ebooks Minnesota. This is one that's provided by the Minnesota Digital Library through Minitex. This is something I was just talking about Overdrive and MackinVIA, how they are integrated into Enterprise. We can do this with Ebooks Minnesota. It's something that is just developed over the summer. I haven't decided yet exactly what we're going to do with it. I would probably want feedback at some point in the future if we want to turn this on for everyone in the region, if everyone just wants to do it on their library by their library, if they want access to it. But it does have the integration into Enterprise as an option. It currently is on the SELCO profile, but only the SELCO profile. And again, this is the same, because it is by the state library, well, not state library, Minitex, but it follows the same rule of geolocated IP authentication. So the materials in Ebooks Minnesota, the one thing that they have, which librarians have been clamoring about forever, is unlimited simultaneous access. So everyone in the state can be reading the same ebook at once. They can all be logged in. We have that is in the license for these things. What did I do? I hit the borrow button, didn't I? Not what I meant to do. So to find this stuff, if you're not on the SELCO website, you can just search for Ebooks Minnesota or go to the Minnesota Digital Library page and they have a link to it. So this is the interface for it. It's a BiblioBoards one right now. That's the vendor they're working with. So that's from Biblioteca. Biblioteca is kind of the breakout division that used to be the 3M library division. So they have this stuff sorted out here. So it's divided into categories. So we have art, browse. So we see these art books are in here, and some highlighted ones. Humor and irony in Dutch post-war fiction film. I'm sure that's highlighted for a reason. I have no idea what it is. The British monarchy on screen. So it's a little bit interesting in terms of materials. But that's because the purpose of this collection has been a focus on Minnesota publishers or content. That is the basic collection development stance for this one. It does have some room for flexibility, so we can add some other things in. And it covers a wide variety of it has a large scope for the audience. It includes academic materials, school materials, public materials, and they are working on breaking that apart into different collections. So one thing that you can do up here is you go to the menu, you can switch over, and there are different options up here. So there's the Ebooks Minnesota, which is the base search. Minnesota Writes and Reads, there's an email from Krista about that. I'm not going to go into that more than saying that it's out there, support is coming later. And pop-up picks, this one is interesting. We had quite a debate on it, on whether we're going to include this or not in Ebooks Minnesota. These are materials which, same licensing rules, except it's not perpetuity. These ones are listed here for, I believe, 90 days, and then they will disappear. And then it'll be replaced by something new. It is from the Association of, I don't remember the exact name, but the Association of Small Publishers, something like that. They give these out here for a trial run to say, hey, if you like this book, buy it. So we're going to give you free samples basically for 90 days, but you can read all you want during those 90 days what you have available to you. And again, it's divided into these different subjects. One of them they're going to be adding up here is going to be basically Ebooks Minnesota School. So it'll be restricted to just school appropriate material. And then BibliaBoard Open Access is just materials which are available to everyone who uses BibliaBoard if they want to show them. So copyright free material, that sort of thing.